Hi, welcome to today's edition of A Closer Look. I'm your host, Mike Coulter. Today we're going to take a look at a cooperative program between the University of Illinois and Parkland College. It's called PRECS. And what's PRECS stand for? Give me 1 second. It stands for Phenotypic Plasticity Research Experience. Sounds complicated, but it's not. We'll tell you all about it when we come back. Welcome back. As I said before the break, PRECS is a cooperative venture between Parkland College and the University of Illinois and involves science students from all over the nation, really. So let's take a closer look at what PRECS is about.
Phenotypic Plasticity Research Experience for Community College Students, or PRECS, is an NSF-funded biology research experience for undergraduate students. This program is a collaboration between the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign and Parkland College, a community college in Champaign. This is something that makes PRECS special. Whereas many summer research experiences are designed for college juniors and seniors, PRECS is specifically designed for community college students. Community college faculty and staff are involved in its design and in the program as a whole. And PRECS is open exclusively to community college students. PRECS is a 10-week paid summer research experience. PRECS starts with a boot camp at Parkland College to prepare students for the research immersion portion of the program. The boot camp includes hands-on lab activities, lectures on science concepts and laboratory culture, as well as several meetings with the research mentors. During the research immersion, students join a research lab at the University of Illinois and conduct experiments in the area of phenotypic plasticity, the phenomenon of a single genotype producing multiple phenotypes depending on the environment. Possible research projects include, but are not limited to, the interaction between genotype and ozone pollution on maize growth, the effect of environmental stress on neuroanatomy, and the interactions of genes and the environment on fish behavior. During the research immersion, the participants work closely with a research mentor, making sure that the student is supported and guided through the experience. As part of the program, students present their research at an undergraduate research symposium on the University of Illinois campus, and then at their home community college in the fall. PRECS encourages applications from underrepresented groups. So you might be thinking that this sounds great and all, but why is it important? Why would someone consider participating in PRECS? Well, it turns out that student involvement in undergraduate research experiences like PRECS can lead to significant increases in a student's success in future science courses and the likelihood that a student will continue to pursue an education and a career in science. There are actually a lot of studies on this. Students learn more about what science is really like, grow a body of knowledge and skills, and also create a network of peers and mentors in the scientific community. Early stage students, freshmen and sophomores, as well as transfer students, can be at a disadvantage for finding and getting into undergraduate research experiences. This is why a program like PRECS is so critically needed. It is specifically designed for students like you. To learn more, visit our website at precs.igb.illinois.edu.
Okay, so now we know a little bit. Let's hear what the students have to say. I spent a lot of time with these students over the summer, and they were really sharp and really awesome, and they had a lot to say about just their whole experience, which they, to a person, found just fantastic. So first off, Parkland College hosts a boot camp. So let's hear what the students had to say about the boot camp.
So the boot camp was just kind of a refresher for the things that you may have learned in your introductory chemistry, biology, and statistics courses that you may or may not have taken at your previous institution. It is basically just a precursor to make sure that you're thinking scientifically and that you have the bare minimum needed to be able to jump into a science research experience without tripping over yourself too hard.
Because there's some people that took time off, or they took bio or chemistry back in their first year. Now they're their second year, or they took a year break and then went back to school. And there's just some people that just took the class and they're still getting a good refresher. So yeah, the whole rundown, and even looking at Parkland's campus, it was great. I definitely wouldn't feel as confident if I were to not do the boot camp. So the boot camp was definitely a necessity for sure.
It's pretty rare to do lab work, especially beyond just a classroom lab at the community college level. Parkland is very lucky that they have the U of I right here with a lot of PIs who are interested in having students come in and work. But yeah, most community college students, I should say, don't have the opportunity to work in a lab.
I think so. I think a lot of things, it's like you do know it and you learned it in classes, but it's not immediately at the top of your head. And so I took the classes, I took like chemistry and biology right before, so I literally just finished them when I went into boot camp, but it was still nice to like be reminded, like, yes, you learned those skills, now apply them to a lab.
It was just nice to see, like, they gave us like a wide variety of labs to work on in boot camp, and a lot of it was a good refresher. And I know at one point I was like, okay, like I've taken chemistry like all 4 semesters, so I feel like I don't need this. But then I was glad to have it when I was in my real lab, like being all nervous. I'm like, okay, I just did this in boot camp, so.
It's kind of just like a general, like a lot of things that you would learn in either like Bio 1 or maybe chemistry, like Chem 1. We just did like a lot of basic like measurements and how to use like equipment in the labs, and went over a lot of that kind of stuff. It's kind of like an overview for me because I have taken quite a few classes, but there was some things that I did learn that were new, so I think it was important.
But that first car ride to Parkland, I remember it was so quiet. People had conversation, but it was just really short. People didn't know much about anybody. At the end of the 2 weeks at Parkland, we just couldn't stop talking. So it's a great, I feel like it's a necessity to have these 2 weeks to kind of really develop some relationship. Because within every day actually, going back to Parkland, we'd have more in conversation. We didn't know more about one another. So yeah, the 2-week boot camp was much needed.
Yeah, boot camp was basically spending 2 weeks at Parkland, which is a community college, so a familiar setting for all of us, inside of a classroom. Kind of getting to know what phenotypic plasticity was, getting to know certain instruments that we would be using within the lab, getting to know how to work Excel and reading graphs, but also getting to know your mentors and the people you're here with. So it's kind of a bonding experience. It's something to it's really just a big icebreaker in the beginning.
The first 2 weeks, the very first day actually, it was like an icebreaker. We did some different activities, just try to get to know each other, learn each other's names. We had lunch together, and then we proceeded to do different things that would have been particular to a lab settings. So we did some pipetting, and we did some concentration equations, and it was basically just like a rough crash course in chemistry, what you can and can't do in a lab, what you should and shouldn't do, and how you should come about things. And a lot of it was really new to me. I had never done a lot of that stuff before. I didn't come from a big science background. I was going into horticulture, so I didn't take a lot of science classes. But I was nervous, and then I wasn't, because I had done all those things at boot camp. It really significantly helped me lose any nerve. I felt like I was caught up with the rest of the students by the end of the 2 weeks.
Once the students got finished with boot camp, they started their jobs at their laboratories. And let me tell you, these were not easy jobs. These were 40-hour-a-week jobs. So let's hear what the students had to say about that.
So the great thing about being there full-time is that you really have the opportunity to immerse yourself. It's called an immersion for a reason. You're really involved in everything, and you're learning in more than just a book learning method. You're getting the hands-on experience too. And you're also surrounded by people who have a lot of experience and a lot of know-how. So the ability to learn there is it was a lot easier than trying to learn in school because you're actually getting to do the things rather than just read the things.
This was the first time I ever did a lab job, so I wasn't really sure what it was like, and kind of had this idea that scientists were just these people that like had to do these very specific things and were very, very smart and way out of the other world. And no, it's pretty simple. At least what I was doing, you go in, I did 40 hours a week just because there's so much processing you have to get through to get results, and so it was fun to learn that it's an actual job that I'm capable of doing.
I was actually working like every single weekend for the past month and a half, so I was working like 7 days a week. And there was still like plenty of downtime for me to like rest and like feel like a whole person, but like I had this project that I was really into and I wanted to complete it in the amount of time that we had, so I was willing to go in and take images on Saturdays and then look at them and process them on Sundays.
It was very hard, yes. Well worth it, but I don't want to sugarcoat things. It was hard work. Being at the lab from 8 to 5:30-ish every day during the week was, like I said, hard. I've never worked that much before, but I've always been a part-time worker / student. But working full-time, yeah, was definitely quite a challenge. But because of the amount of time spent in one place, practicing one thing, allowed me to get probably the most involved as I've ever been into one job before. Yeah. I don't know if I put that the right way, but it's very involved because of the time amount spent in this lab.
At 9 to 5, but then it really didn't feel like work though, because it was a lot of fun and very interesting. I really got into my project and I found myself staying late and I didn't mind. In addition to myself, I saw many lab members staying late, coming in early, coming in on weekends. It was nice to see all the hard work. But.
So everybody had a little bit of different ones. We discussed it with our mentors in the beginning of the program. We agreed on 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, but I also spent like additional hours on the weekend, which wasn't like required, but I signed up to feed the fish for that week, so I went in and did all of that. So I did do a little bit of extra.
You know, being a scientist, you're expected to get results, and there are some things that are outside of your control. There are some things that are outside of your control, and there are some experiments and some things that you have to do kind of outside of that 9 to 5 during the week. So coming in during the weekends, I would have to change the solutions of my hatching behaviors because soybean system nematodes like fresh water or fresh soybean diffusate to lie in than water that's been sitting out for a whole weekend, you know. And even I would have to come in and water plants in the greenhouse over the weekends because plants need water. And being in the greenhouse, they're exposed to hot heat, so you don't want them to dry out. So you kind of have this responsibility if you want it, but really you want it because you're a scientist, and it feels good to live this lifestyle once you're in it, you know. Yeah. Go hard or go home.
So when I first started, before we got into any really nitty-gritty data, when the plants were first starting to grow, it was a 9 to 5. But as they started to grow and as we needed more data, I had to come in at like 5:30 in the morning or 6 in the morning, and I'd be out there. And the graduate students, and my mentor in particular, tried really hard to make sure that I didn't go over 40 hours a week. He was really, really adamant on that. But I ignored it because I was fine with taking on as many hours as I could give.
Okay, we're going to take a short break, but on the way to the break, we're going to take a look at how the students felt their first day versus their last day of working in their labs all summer.
The graduate student, they already know what they're doing. So there's 4 other people in our lab. They're working with live organisms, like at a culture plates. They're seeing everything in vivo, and I just kind of walk in and I'm like, I don't even know like what to touch, what can I touch, what's mine, what's not. Am I going to disturb you? It was super intimidating because they were just competent. They just knew what they were doing, and I'm this lost puppy just, all right, so what can I do? What can you guys show me? The mentors were great. The people in the lab were amazing. My PI, she was so welcoming. Megan Daly, she was great. But after a few days, you feel like you're part of the lab. That's how welcoming the vibe was. It was great. The graduate students, they enjoyed my presence. They understood the position I was in, so they knew how to explain stuff to my scientific background that I have. And it was good. It was great to really know what they're doing and how it's like going from an undergrad to a grad and possibly getting your PhD, and the whole process in its way too.
At first it definitely felt like everything was like brand new to me. I've never been in like a setting like that before. So I felt like a little like nervous, but then after like getting to know everybody and getting to know everything, now I feel like super comfortable with it, and I definitely learned a lot, and it's really cool like how you go from that to how I am at the end of the summer now.
I really, really liked living in the dorms with the other students. I really liked how formal but informal everybody was. I mean, you could tell that everybody was really professional and everybody was very into their jobs and careers, but they had such a relaxed, comfortable way of coming about and speaking to you, and just speaking with them, really. Just being able to, I don't want to say network because it's such a generic term, but that's basically what we did, was network. And that was very, I think, very important, because my lab actually asked me to come back next summer. Awesome. And I know that that's the case of several other students as well. So it's, so I guess something to add, if any other community college students were wondering about doing a research opportunity, if they came and did this, they're opening a door, and then it continues, because my lab asked me to come back next summer, and so that will help tremendously if I decide to do another research opportunity.
Welcome back. These PRECS students weren't on their own. They had the help from some very good mentors. So let's hear what the students have to say about their mentors.
I think they were important. Definitely think that they, like for me, I felt pretty independent once I had learned everything. Definitely spent like the first 2 weeks like learning everything, learning the program that we used on the computer called GWatcher. That took a lot to learn that, so I practiced a lot on videos, and then they would help me with anything new I learned, but once I like learned it, then I was able to just do it on my own, because it was like daily tasks. So, but they were definitely like important, getting to know everything in the beginning.
Oh, it was so good. Being able to have someone that you know isn't going to judge you for asking stupid questions was beyond helpful, especially someone who had kind of been there, done that. I walked into this with like a horrible, almost paralyzing fear of breaking things or messing things up. And he had very helpful anecdotes about things that he had broken or messed up, and how no one died and everything was okay. And like the world doesn't stop spinning because you break something. And I didn't break anything, thankfully. But like having someone who had been there, done that kind of helped with the feeling sketched out or the feeling out of place. It definitely helped stave off any sort of feelings of I'm an imposter in this situation.
It was really nice. My mentor was fantastic. She was very good at explaining things and was very nice about when I made mistakes. And was like, yeah, everyone does that, it's fine. And then if I did something that was good enough, but there was probably a better way to do it, she would let me know what the better way to do it was for the future. And once I learned something, she kind of just let me have autonomy with a lot of what I was doing. And so it was really nice to have someone kind of respect that she taught me, I knew it, and let me do it, but also be there for when I inevitably forgot what she said and had questions.
Being paired with a mentor who's been there, done that in terms of undergrad, graduate school, and now postgraduate work, and then also having a PI who's done all of that plus faculty work and other experiences, having them for reference was pretty much invaluable in terms of understanding, what's the next steps in terms of undergraduate education, what's the next steps in terms of graduate education, what it's like to be a postdoc, things like that.
I've never been in a lab like this. I've only been in like the college labs where you have your teacher and you have basically like an experiment you have to run. But here you're doing new techniques I've never seen before. So she really had to walk me through them. And there was just some data analysis we usually didn't get into in the college classes. So she had to help me out with that. But it was nice. She guided me at first, but then I would slowly become more independent.
The first couple weeks that we had our boot camp, I was nervous to meet him, entirely nervous. But as we met and started talking, that all went away. We were really on the same level. He was really respectful, and I was too. We kind of knew exactly what we wanted to talk about. We did those mentor-mentee contracts, and that really, really helped set the bar. And then as I continued throughout the summer with him, we even kind of became friends, but it stayed professional, and he was very encouraging, and he helped me so much on my poster and doing all my research. And then he came to the symposium, and he told me that my poster looked great and just made me feel really good about everything that I did and really, really confident in all the work that I did as well.
Okay, so the students were working very hard, but they also had some time to cultivate some really great friendships and meet some interesting people that maybe were from a different part of the nation than they were. Let's hear what they have to say about that.
Most were coming from all different backgrounds. It helped that we were all at one place at Newman Hall. But that first car ride to Parkland, I remember it was so quiet. People had conversation, but it was just really short. People didn't know much about anybody. At the end of the 2 weeks at Parkland, we just couldn't stop talking. So I feel like it's a necessity to have these 2 weeks to kind of really develop some relationship. Because within every day actually, going back to Parkland, we'd have more in conversation. We didn't know more about one another. The 2-week boot camp was much needed.
What's really helpful about having a group of just 10 people, and especially people who are all in different places of life, but at the same time with common threads, was really helpful in terms of building up a sense of camaraderie, and we all want to see each other succeed. We're all very happy for each other's successes, and we're very interested in what the others are doing. Being around a group of cohorts that is actually going into things that are similar to what you're going into is very helpful, especially someone coming from the same background. Like we talked about earlier, it's pretty rare for a community college student to be able to take part in research in a lab, especially in a lab as prestigious as the ones that they have here at the University of Illinois. So being able to have people who can relate to that is very helpful.
It was nice having like a sort of thing to fall back on with the program and having PRECS and getting to know Nate and Britt and the other participants. I think it was really helpful to kind of have a core group for the questions that you're kind of embarrassed to ask your mentor and be like, I feel like I should know this and I need somebody to ask, but I don't necessarily want to ask the person that's kind of directly supervising me. Sure. And to have people to like bounce off, sort of like, did this happen in your lab? Is that normal?
I thought there was great camaraderie that happened this summer because of one, we were all in labs, and we all liked listening or hearing what each other was doing because we were all in different labs, doing different things, and asking different questions about different things in life. And let's see, I personally bonded with quite a few of the people living in the same dorm that I was living in because we were so close and we were able to talk more frequently.
At first it was kind of like intimidating just to be in a new like environment and totally new people. But once we got to know each other, like after like the first week and definitely by the end of the summer, now I've definitely made like lasting connections, and my roommates definitely become like probably one of my very good friends. And I also have 2 more roommates. Well, we're all in the same program, but so we've all become pretty good friends, and even everybody really. I think it's nice for the people that do live in Newman. There's 3 people that don't live in the same housing. So for the ones that do live in the same housing, I think that was like really nice to have like other people that know what you're doing and like that kind of situation. So that was nice.
Everybody in the PRECS group is awesome. Especially in this, we're Worm Squad, baby. So we're in this together. And it was, yeah, we had a very diverse group. We had some people from Champaign County itself. We had some people who were from Parkland. We had some people from the East Coast even. But about most of us were from Illinois. So it was nice to kind of see, to kind of hear about different towns and different backgrounds.
So the very first day, I only knew one person, and then by the end of it, I knew 3 or 4. And then as it progressed, we all became really, really close, especially the students who lived together. We all lived in the dorm together, and we hung out and we did everything together all week. And we all came from really, really different backgrounds, but I think maybe the being caught in the middle of nowhere, all of us together, really helped us too. But everybody's really on the same level that I'm on. They want to do something. They want to do something with science. They all are driven, maybe at different levels, but we all have a common interest, and that's to better ourselves and to better understand science and research.
Okay, and lastly, if you're a parent or student out there and you think PRECS might be for you or your child, here's some words of encouragement from the students who have went through the first year of PRECS.
Especially from like where I'm from the country, like rural life. So Ben went to a small high school, small community college, and there's no opportunities really. So I was blown away when I got here, because like Champaign is 4 hours away. And this is an R1 institution. There's nothing really around where I'm from, so it was a great opportunity.
I would definitely do it. It's like a great opportunity, I think. I feel like I've learned a lot, and it's been really nice to like be here and like be at U of I. It's like an awesome school, so I think it's definitely like I would recommend it to anybody.
Do it, yeah. Look at it as a scientific vacation, I guess. You're gonna work for sure. You are gonna learn something new. If you love science, which pretty much all of us did, and that's why we applied, this is the way to go. This is what we're doing in the classroom is completely different from what we're doing here as a research. In the classroom, it's all set in stone, but that's provided due to people in research making that foundation. So you're doing all the work behind the scenes, and it's kind of nice to see what's going on behind the scenes. So yeah, if you love science, definitely do it. If you're willing to move out, and most of the people that go to community college, they're still with their family. If you're willing to do a quick move out for 2 months, experience a bigger campus like UIUC itself, and if you're willing to just learn more about science, I definitely do it.
Yeah, it's awesome. Our 2 PIs are 2 amazing people. And just to get that research experience so early on for community college students, because community college students, we really start out, we're basically freshmen and sophomores, and we're not really exposed greatly to big-time universities. So coming to a big-time university is one thing, enrolling as a student, but coming and actually working for a university, that's a whole different ballgame in itself. So I would say PRECS, definitely PRECS should be on somebody's checklist.
I did not think that I was going to get into PRECS. When I applied for it kind of late, but I knew that I needed to get letters of recommendation, and it was interesting to apply for. It wasn't like it was difficult or anything, but I had such low, because I felt like I was so low on this academic level because I haven't taken a biology course yet. But I emailed Britt, and she assured me that I would be able to be at least considered. And I would say anybody who has the opportunity to do this, it's so worth it, and it would really help them. If they had any idea of going into research, that this could definitely put in stone what they wanted to do, especially if they get into the right lab like I did. It will definitely help them so much. Thanks for joining us today. I hope you've enjoyed learning a lot about PRECS, or Phenotypic Plasticity Research Experience. The program will start up again next summer, and I'm sure you'll learn more about it in the community.
Thanks for joining us today on A Closer Look.